60 minutes of Donald Trump lying. That's what we saw this weekend when Donald Trump appeared on 60 Minutes. Actually, it was 73 minutes, the full interview of his lying. About 18 provable falsehoods, which means about 3 per minute. And considering he wasn't even talking all those minutes, the host was talking for part of the time, it's still a pretty impressive rate of lies per minute. Now, we read the whole transcript, so you don't have to, and I'm just going to go through Donald Trump's top 10 lies from 60 Minutes. So number one, here's Donald Trump saying that grocery prices are going down.
They've seen their grocery prices go up, inflation.
No, you're wrong. They went up under Biden. Right now, they're going down.
This is false. Grocery prices are up. They're up in all 6 categories measured by the Consumer Price Index. And if Donald Trump were spending less time in his golden Great Gatsby ballroom and more time in a grocery store, he would know that prices are going up. Number 2, Trump claimed that Biden gave him the worst inflation rate in all of U.S. history. That is another lie. Here he is.
Joe Biden was the worst president in the history of our country. We had the worst inflation. We had the worst of everything.
In fact, the inflation rate in January when Trump took over was 3%. The inflation rate today is 3%. And just in case you're curious what the worst inflation rate was, it was 27% in 1920. Another big provable falsehood by Donald Trump. And here's Donald Trump on tariffs, claiming once again that countries like China are paying instead of consumers like you.
With China, they were, very strongly threatening us, frankly, with the rare earths. And then I said, well, if you're going to play that card, I'm going to put a 100% tariff on over and above what you're already paying, which was 55%.
But that is, again, just another lie. In fact, tariffs are paid by the importer. Those costs are passed on to consumers. We are paying the cost of tariffs. It's part of the reason why inflation keeps going up. This on-again, off-again tariff war by the president has made the cost of living more expensive for all of us. And coming in at number 4, Donald Trump talking about artificial intelligence and the energy demands of artificial intelligence and how he came up with the idea to co-locate a new data center with a power plant generating the power for that facility. Here he is.
We're producing electricity like never before by allowing the companies to make their own electricity, which was my idea, which nobody frankly had thought of, these massive plants that are being built.
So Donald Trump claims this was his idea, which nobody ever thought of. Well, this idea was discussed at length during the Biden administration. It's not a unique idea. I suppose this is Donald Trump's equivalent of saying that he invented the internet. And coming in at number 5, Donald Trump claiming that each time he attacks a ship in the Caribbean, that effectively saves 25,000 American lives. Here he is.
But every one of those boats kills 25,000 Americans. Every single boat that you see that's shot down kills 25,000 on drugs and destroys families all over our country.
Well, that's just absurd. First of all, he has been claiming falsely that these ships carry fentanyl. This is not a fentanyl trafficking route. Precursor chemicals generally come from China. Fentanyl is smuggled into the United States from Mexico. It is more cocaine that is being trafficked in the Caribbean. And if you add up all of the loss of lives from all of the sources of drug overdoses, it would amount to about 80 or 90,000 deaths, which is a horrible tragedy. But for Donald Trump to claim that every boat he attacks saves essentially 25,000 lives is just made up nonsense. Number 6, Trump repeated the claim that he's made in many other places as well, that he ended 8 wars.
But I brought, just a little list of look at this, wars. How many did I solve? Cambodia, this is Cambodia, Thailand, Kosovo, Serbia, Congo, the Congo and Rwanda, Pakistan and India. That was going to be a beauty. They shot down 7 planes. Israel and Iran. You've heard about that one? Egypt and Ethiopia.
There's been no war between Egypt and Ethiopia. That's been a long-running dispute over a major Ethiopian dam project. Trump includes on the list another war, the war in Kosovo, that didn't even take place during his tenure in office. And he claims to have prevented other wars from taking place without any factual basis. So that, again, wrong, false, exaggerated, you name it. Number 7, Trump claimed that Joe Biden provided $350 billion to Ukraine. That figure is also not remotely accurate. I mean, even if you got your degree from Trump University, the numbers don't add up. In fact, the U.S. contribution to Ukraine has been about $94 billion, has gone out the door. Another equivalent amount has been appropriated but not yet fully dispersed. So we're talking about less than half of the money that Trump claims Joe Biden already spent on Ukraine. Number 8, Donald Trump and the shutdown. Donald Trump falsely claimed that what Democrats are seeking is $1.5 trillion for healthcare and other services for undocumented people.
I can't give them $1.5 trillion so that they can give welfare to people that came into our country illegally.
This is completely bogus. What Democrats are seeking is to end the vast increases in healthcare costs on the Affordable Care Act that are occasioned by Trump's doing away with tax credits for people getting their healthcare through the ACA. We're trying to at least bring down the cost of healthcare for Americans. Undocumented immigrants are not eligible for that funding. So this is just another palpable Donald Trump lie. And number 9, Donald Trump and the Insurrection Act. So Trump has been deploying the National Guard and active duty troops to cities like Los Angeles and Chicago, Portland, Oregon, and elsewhere in a lawless effort to essentially get the military to engage in domestic law enforcement. This is also Donald Trump trying to make him look strong, trying to essentially commandeer the military as his own palace guard. But these actions are being struck down in court, and so Donald Trump has been threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act. And in defense of his potentially invoking this seldom used statute, Donald Trump claimed during the interview that it had been used by other presidents as many as 28 times. That's just false. No president has invoked the Insurrection Act more than Ulysses S. Grant in the early 1800s, who did so only 6 times. Nevertheless, and perhaps more importantly, there is no basis, no justification whatsoever for invoking the Insurrection Act under the circumstances in which Donald Trump is claiming. That is, that there's some kind of insurrection or rebellion against which American troops need to be deployed. That too is just false. And finally, rounding out the top 10, Donald Trump asked about whether he has directed the Justice Department to go after his political enemies. Here's Donald Trump on that subject.
Did you instruct the Department of Justice to go after them?
Not in any way, shape, or form.
Not in any way, shape, or form, he says. Well, take a look at this form. That was Donald Trump instructing Pam Bondi in a tweet that was supposed to be a private direct message, but was sent improperly, so the public got to see it, instructing him to go after 3 of his enemies, myself very much included. So those are just 10 of the patent falsehoods told by Donald Trump in a 60 Minutes interview. Of course, there are a lot more that we could have cataloged, but here's the thing. We cannot acclimate ourselves to this constant lying by the President of the United States. Of all the attacks on our democracy, perhaps the most corrosive has been Donald Trump's relentless assault on the truth. If we can't agree on a common set of facts and shared experiences, then what basis is there to decide what policy should be or who should govern? How do we fall back on anything other than political tribe or worse, political violence? So it is incumbent, I think, on all of us to call out the lies of this administration, to keep insisting on the truth.
He needs your legal advice. Stop breaking the law, asshole!
So thanks for watching tonight's video. We started doing these nightly videos as a way of identifying something really important that happened today or this week, what we should make of it, and how we can fight back. As you can see, I like to include movie clips. If you have any suggestions for other movie clips I should include in future videos, please share them with us. And thank you for following along.
The empire of debt. For all his boasts of business genius, Donald Trump has turned the American economy into a casino, and the House is losing. The second Trump term began with a sugar rush of tax cuts and patriotic slogans. But behind the show, debt piled higher than hope. The America First doctrine became America Foreclosed. Markets once feared instability, now they expect it. Every tariff, every tantrum, every late-night post shakes investor confidence. Wall Street doesn't trade on fundamentals anymore. It trades on Trump's moods. And those moods are expensive. The deficit, already monstrous, ballooned further after his new round of stimulus for the loyal. Corporate bailouts multiplied while public investment withered. The infrastructure he promised? Still a PowerPoint fantasy. The factories he vowed to reopen? Mostly headlines and handshakes. Economists describe it as stagflation. The public calls it survival. Prices rise, wages stall, and household debt explodes. Trump blames global sabotage and fake economists, but the truth is simple. He's run the economy like his companies, with borrowed money, borrowed time, and borrowed credibility. The collapse isn't sudden. It's slow, invisible, like rot in the foundation. Abroad, investors flee. Allies diversify away from the dollar. BRICS nations move toward an alternative reserve system, weakening America's once unquestioned financial throne. But Trump doesn't see danger. He sees defiance. His response to a crisis is the same as always: threats, tariffs, and televised boasts of strength. It's theater, masking bankruptcy. The tragedy is not just financial, but philosophical. The American dream was built on faith in the future. Now it's pawned to fund the present. Under Trump, prosperity became propaganda, and the dollar a stage prop in a dying act. The empire of debt can't last forever. The question isn't if it fails, but when the audience stops clapping.